All right. Overcoming objections as a whole. I'm going to do this very quickly. Simple answer is you overcome the objection by addressing it prior to the client. Pretty simple concept. It just allows you to get your scripting together, to get your processes together so that the power is in your hand. Generally, in speaking of the psychological side of things, if you're the one that brings up the objection, the power is on your side, not on theirs. Number one. Number two, you never, ever, ever want to have to overcome objections after money hits the table or after you present the pricings over the phone. Once they have what they want, which is the price, and then there's an objection after there, all you're doing is fighting at that point, and it's going to become this. So, can I do that? Yes, but I hate doing those things. So I designed my scripting over the course of years and taken bits and pieces from everything to make sure that I overcome the things that I was hearing at the end of the presentation. So biggest thing that most people can't overcome is I just need to think about it, or I'm not going to do it today. Something I'm going to talk to my brother, aunt, uncle, whatever the case is. Without getting deep into this is just going to be a short version for this one. The biggest thing that you have to have is confidence going in. You have to sell the belief that you are competent, you know what you're doing, and all those things. That's a video for another day. The way that I have structured my personal scripting, and I do telesales, I only do final expense over the phone, very, very niche. So I can be very specific in the things that I do and how I handle it. So you can kind of modify this if you do different types of sales, but you can do the same thing. At some point, after you've gone through the process, at some point, you've got to stop and set structure anyway to make sure the client knows what's going on. If you've sat down in their house and you're having a conversation, they're going to want to know how long you're supposed to be sitting there. If you're on the phone and having a conversation, they're going to want to know how long am I going to be sitting on the phone with this guy and how's this going on? So after getting past the general introduction and the niceties, and I've verified your information and here's what we want to do. And for me, I go into a little bit about, how we do things and who are they looking to protect and what the beneficiaries are and stuff like that. So I have that kind of general information for them. Then I set structure at that point. And it's like, Mary, there's three things that I want you to know about myself and the process today. Okay. And part of my presentation also is at the very, very beginning, I'm having them get a piece of paper and a pen and all that good stuff. It's part of control and all that, but at least they have something to write on so you can kind of come back to that. So at this point, that's what I would say. So I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you a little bit about the processes, a little bit about myself and the process of how the state regulated life insurance works. Number one, as I told you before, I'm your state licensed medical underwriter. I represent a ton. I can actually get access up to 30 different companies and 30 different carriers. They're all named brand names like, the ones you've heard of. We said at the beginning, Mutual of Omaha, Transamerica, Aetna. I got all these different kind of companies that you can bring up, whatever's good for your clientele. Okay. That's all I say on my side. Just a couple names for name drops. All right. So in case, back to my scripting here. So Mary, I have access to close to 30 different companies. What's the big deal for you? Well, bottom line, regardless of your health and your finances, I will be able to pair you up with a company that fits you. That's my job. Second thing I want you to know is that the way I'm going to pull that off and be able to do that for you is to do about a 2 or 3 minute risk assessment. Now, there's a couple parts to it. One part is going to be financial, so I can make sure that what I show you at the end, you can actually afford. The main part is going to be health. That's how we pay for life insurance. So we're going to go through and assess your general health. Now, what I do in all the state regulated plans are all what's called simplified issue. That's a fancy word in insurance for it's just you and I talking. There's no doctors. You don't have to have anybody come to your house and take your blood. You don't do anything weird like that. It's just you and I talking. There's some health questions we'll have to go over. And most insurance companies will have access to what's called an MIB, which pulls up your tests, your prescription history, different things like that. So they'll just get a general idea of how healthy you are. But that's all we got to do. So far as any of this not making sense to you, I want to make sure they're staying with me because that was a data dump. Once they get past that and they're always going to say, no, everything makes sense so far. Okay. The last thing is this is where you kill it. Okay. So your variation, your words of what I'm about to say. The third thing, Mary, is this. We really don't make any decisions today. There's really nothing to think about because you're not approved. all we can do is, as I go through the health questions, and I've done this long enough, I can do that in 10, 15 minutes to go through everything, to figure out how you're going to get through underwriting and get a company that's actually going to approve you. That's first and foremost. So all we're going to do today is get to a budget that you know you can absolutely afford. You're not pulling out the checkbook and getting out the calculator and all that stuff. We're going to go to the instant one that you absolutely know you can do, because all we want to do is get in a request for coverage and get something back that says yes. We want to make sure we get that. Now I can do that. Can happen instantly. It can be 24, 48 hours. Just kind of depends on the company. We work in conjunction within the Social Security system for your billing aspect. So here's how it works. Even if today were the day that they said yes, we went through and everything went through perfectly, and they said yes, and they gave you an approval today. Most of our clients, we just line it up within their benefits check. According to your birthday here, it looks like you would get yours on the second Wednesday. Yep, I do. Fantastic. So that would be the 14th of next month, whatever. So they're already in their mind that the money's going out the window too. They're not even thinking about that. So that'd be the 14th of next month anyway. So what would occur is you get an approval, get the documents in your hand. You actually have a policy with paper that you can look at and hang on to. Now you have something to think about because it's in your hands. You can sit down with John, beneficiary. You can sit down with John. You guys can look it all over. The state of Illinois gives you another 30 days to look everything over. And that's when you and I will discuss modifying it. If you want more, that's when we can do it. So we'll worry about just doing, as I said before, the basics of what you can afford. And then you've got a week and a half of this month and 2 weeks of next month. You got a whole month and a month and a half for you to process everything. So there's no decision making and everything that we have to worry about today. It's very, very simple. We're just going to put in a request and try and get an approval. Any part of that I went too fast on that you didn't get? Nope, all makes sense. That's it. They're paying attention. You've gone through the process. You've taken everything off the table. We're not thinking about anything, because that's the truth. They don't have an approval. When you give them a number, why do they have to think about it? If you've ever processed that in your head, what are they actually thinking about? Once you go all the way through and they're like, well, I'm not going to put in an application. I just want to think about it. Think about getting approved. Thinking about, do you really want to do this? Why am I here? Why did you fill out a form if you weren't interested? I don't see people. I use leads. I do not go randomly knocking on people's door that don't expect me to be there. So I have a little bit more gumption when I'm talking to people because they've requested that I do. And that's what I say to them. I don't talk to people that don't request for me to be here. And then about 20 minutes into my presentation, right before this, I've already done a data dump. And I just, my second point is, I also don't talk to people that aren't interested in actually protecting their family and protecting their loved ones. Don't talk to those people either. Whole nother training on that as well. But in any case, hope this has some kind of help for you. It was very generic and very quick. There's a lot more to it. This is a skeleton. You put it on it for you, what you say, how you want to do it, your personality, and then hopefully that'll help you get to the end and not hear. I need to think about it, Tony. We don't want to do that.